Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Became the Shadow of Konoha. Part 2. Remember to give this one to 100 likes as usual, share this with your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, stay tuned for a brand new episode coming from Making 2 and Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, without further ado, would you say begin this new episode start? The intro. So the last time we left off, the war was over. In the end, Naruto could not muster the strength to kill Sasuke. And he didn't know what happened, as he had fought Madara, and he had won. Him and the fox never got on good terms because, after restraining him with Killer Bee, Naruto was able to tug a war with the fox chakra. And he was able to pull a lot of it away and store it away. But him and the fox never bonded. So now they called him to the office, as Sakura has been saying that Naruto spent most of his time in the apartment, not really venturing out. As he just moped around, Snazzy had a new challenge for him, as she wanted him to join Anbu. As Naruto thought about it, perhaps it would work, something new for him to strive for to become the greatest and something else. So he agreed. But his first task was to kill someone. The part of her that was Snazzy that cared for Naruto wished that he failed his task, and that he could get back into the swing of things, because he wasn't taking the missions lately. After all, after fighting a war, doing dangerous stuff, going on regular missions seemed like a waste of time. But Naruto made his way. But he saw a Kumo ninja. Tsunade was right. The world was getting more chaotic, seeing that the great nations had lost a lot of power in the war. And more organizations were rising, more hidden villages were trying to put themselves in a dominated state. As Naruto saved the Kumo ninja known as C, he couldn't reveal himself to the man or tell the man that he knew the right guy given that he was wearing his mask. He brought C towards the border, as C was taken in by the rest of the Kumo ninjas and Naruto made his way off. As he found his target, he had scouted for a week. Naruto knew that he was being watched, but he didn't pay that in mind, as it was one of the Anbus from Konoha. When he found his target, he transformed into one of the man's friends. As Naruto actually spoke in a rather loud voice, startling the man as he hit his head on a post and fell down right in the well, and he died, as he reported that to Snazzy. But Naruto did not understand. After watching the man for a week, he didn't see the man do anything, but Snazzy told him of the horrific deeds that the man did. As Naruto was startled by that, Snazzy told him to trust her, which he did. The final step of the test, as the Anbus were there, including Snazzy, as the Genjutsu was placed on Naruto, but the fox intervened, and the scene was horrific to the point where the Anbus had to have a session with Inoichi. Snazzy thought that Naruto would be mad at her for allowing this to happen, but he shrugged it off like it was nothing. As Naruto went back to his apartment, he had some people there that saw him as good friends. Everyone around here respected him because of things that he did for them, and some thugs that came for one of his friends, but they quickly backed off when they saw Naruto there. After all, they knew who he was and they didn't stand a chance. Kakashi then arrived as he sat on Naruto's window, as he spoke while reading his book, as he told Naruto he should keep the tattoo covered. As Sakura came over, as she once again complained about the state of his house, he can create a million clones, so his house should not be in this state. But she was one of his best friends, and not to mention she always came over and brought food for him. So yeah guys, this basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place, check it for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? As Sakura sniffed, is something burning? Crap, said Naruto as he rushed towards his second ramen that was no burn. He shrugged as he pulled a fork as he was gonna go at it, before he found himself embedded in the wall by Sakura. You can't eat that, it's burned. As she threw it in the trash. As she went in the fridge and pulled out the egg and the sausages, As Naruto blinked in surprise, he had no idea that stuff was in there. As Sakura placed him on the counter, she was going to make him a proper breakfast. As Naruto picked himself up, "So, why are you here by the way?" he asked. "I came to check up on you," she said. "I'm guessing you can't tell me what happened, but I just want to make sure that you were alright and give you these." As she pulled a bottle of pills and placed them on the counter. Most Anbu patients have trouble sleeping. Figured that you would need them. Naruto didn't know what to say. People doing random things for him still surprised him after all. "They are pretty effective," said Kakashi. "Wow, thanks Sakura," said Naruto with a smile. As she just smiled back happily. "Breakfast almost ready," she said. Just as she said that, there was a poof. As a squid mask Anbu appeared right in the center of the room. "Great, a Team 7 reunion," said Kakashi. "Sai?" said Sakura. "I'm not Sai, I'm Squid." As Naruto blinked as he looked at the mask that had more expression than his friend ever had. "Sai," he said. "The Hokage requests your presence." "But I didn't get to eat breakfast yet," said Naruto. As all of them smiled at that. He was the glue that kept them all together after all. Time skip. Snady looked at her new Anbu agent. Most Anbu agents stood in a rigid posture in front of her, giving her proper respect, but he was leaning to the side, tapping his feet on the ground rather impatiently. And his crow mask made him look rather dangerous, until his stomach grumbled. As Shizune, who was in the corner, giggled a bit. "Shouldn't you have eaten already?" asked Natty. "I was rudely interrupted," said Naruto. "You can get some food after we're done, but first thing first, you need an alibi." "Alibi?" said Naruto confused. "A double life," said Natty. "For example, a grocery store owner or a fisherman." "Wait, so you're telling me that the local grocery store owner could be an Anbu?" As Naruto went through all of the villagers of Konoha through his mind. Snevy only smiled. "But your case is different. With your chakra, implanting a shadow clone in your normal routine would be most effective, and coming up with imaginary missions to explain your disappearance. Your shadow clone will be Naruto Uzumaki, and it will be like you're always here. This is of the utmost importance, so our enemy spies will believe that you're always in the village." Naruto nodded as he tried to take it in all seriously. After all, he was Anbu now. For every mission, squad leaders are given files of their squad so they can be familiarized with their team members. No doubt anyone without half a brain will figure out who you are, so most likely your identity will be compromised. But keep in mind, not everyone will be aware of your identity. In an Anbu career, you tend to work with a handful of same agents. These protocols are in place, so if one Anbu is caught and tortured, he will not be able to reveal everyone's identity and skills. But listen to me very carefully. No one, absolutely no one out of Anbu is supposed to know your identity. Naruto did not know how to bring up Kakashi and Sakura. There are exceptions though. Anbu agents has the right to tell close family members. As you have no family, Sakura and Kakashi are exceptions. They are granted limited access. They are allowed to know that you're an Anbu but not your code name. It was dangerous to allow family members to know about that. But if you had no family members behind you, Anbu would tend to go robotic. They needed an anchor, people to remind them that they were still breathing humans. That was often the people that kept them holding on to humanity. Without those, they would get lost in the job. Wearing a mask for too long, you became that mask. From here on out, while you're in uniform, you're not to get anything from your house unless using shadow clones. You're not to hang out or talk with anyone that you know without using shadow clones unless mission related. You are not to be seen unless using shadow clones. Understood? Your involvement in Anbu is a highly classified secret. Naruto nodded. "Any questions?" she said. "If I can't go back home, where am I supposed to live?" he asked. "While you're on duty, you're supposed to live at Anbu headquarters. This allows agents to be at my beck and call at all times." "Where is that?" said Naruto. "A moment," she said as she pulled a thick paper from her desk. "This is your schedule. As a new agent, you have not yet been qualified for field work. You're stuck doing grunt work until your overseers tell me that you're ready for it. Then I will begin giving you missions onto the field." "So that's it," said Snally. "Any questions?" she asked. "Actually, I do have something to ask, but it's not unrelated." She raised her eyebrow. As Naruto reached for the mask, "You're not supposed to," but he took the mask off. As she saw his expression, it was the same expression that he wore when he stood in front of her and the Raikage defiantly. "I want to talk to you about the 9-year fox." She folded her arms. "Continue." "In case I am to die," he said. As she narrowed her eyes at that, it was the first time that he ever spoke about a future without calling him being Hokage in it. "I want to be the last 9-tailed Jinchuriki." "Honest, Naruto," she said, as she pulled for a bottle of sake. "That might not be realistic." "Why not?" "The other villages lost their tailed beasts to the Akatsuki. Killer Bee, and I are the only one left, said Naruto. It's true, that is the case, but Demon Fox is a property of the village. Konoha will lose a great source of his power. It gives us great influential power amongst the villages. And now, because of you, the villagers have come to rely on the Jinchurikis to keep them safe and protected. Snazzy hated the truth, but it was true. Most of the Hidden Leaf military power relied on the Nightingale Fox. This is the reason why your identity in Anbu is a higher secret than any of the other agents. If the elders find out that I'll be put in the field and in danger so much, they will not stop talking. They won't say it out loud, but the reason why they're so adamant in keeping you in the village, just in case something happens, they want to be there to oversee your death. You can't let that happen, said Naruto. I will, if I must, she said. There are records stating that the Demon Fox can survive the death of his Jinchuriki. If I ever had to make a decision, I will create another Jinchuriki before letting it fall into enemy hands or turning its wrath on the village. It won't happen. I think because we have been connected for so long, we'll die together. You think, said Snazzy as she stressed that word. As Naruto gripped the wood of Dex, I'm not going to let another child carry this burden, he said. Like your son or daughter, said Snazzy, in a whisper. What do you mean? It hit him like a ton of bricks. That the Uzumakis have been the carriers of the Nine Tails because of the special chakra that they carry. It blindsided him because he never thought about having a family, much less children. And to know that if his assumptions were wrong, those children of his will be the next vessel. I know it's not something you want to hear about sometime a ninja due to the village. It's more than just accomplishing missions. This was the conversation that she hoped to have with him when he was at least 20. Alright then, it's settled, said Naruto. As Snazzy noticed his eyes turn blood red. I'll destroy the Kyuubi, he said. As a fit of laughter went off in his head. I'd like to see you try, said Kurama. Time skip. Naruto Uzumaki woke up to the room given to him by Anbu headquarters. It was larger than his apartment. It was like a mini house, a separate bathroom, couch, a small kitchen set, multiple racks on the walls showcase different equipments. His katana rested on the lowest peg. A bingo book was laid on the floor. His uniform was thrown over the couch. As Naruto reached out and slammed the alarm clock, but it was ninja-proof so it did not stop. As he rolled over with a grunt and pressed the right coordination of buttons, he was sore, and his muscles screamed in agony. Still, he was not going to be late to another training session, as he rolled out of bed exhaustedly. As he put on his clothes and his mask, as he groggily shut the door behind him, there was no point of trapping or shutting or sealing the door behind him. These elites of elites could get in without much problem. As he stepped into the hall that stretched into both directions, the door behind him had a picture of a crow etched into the wood. Similar doors were there, all decorated with symbols, animals on them. There were plenty of Anbus arguing around the twisted underground spaces. As Naruto thought that he got up early, there was hardly any socializing amongst the Anbu, as most things were private to keep the identity of one. If the Anbu underground had a center, it would be the training area. There were private gyms and ninja equipments and simulated areas to provide real battleground experience. As he arrived in the midst of all the fighting stood one, frozen Anbu in meditation, his katana across his lap, as he was wearing the captain coat. As Naruto came in a stop before his katana master, Tiger. 200 Ryu, he won't last longer than 30 minutes. Naruto grumbled as the Anbus that stood above the railing started to place bets. Somehow he had become the morning entertainment. He asked if they did this for newcomers. Evidently, they did it for the bad ones. When it comes towards the katana, Naruto was really pitiful. But he thought he was getting better as he started to stretch. On the first day he learned never to interrupt Tiger meditation. The man had actually tried to kill him. As he waited as Tiger finally got to his feet, breaking out of his meditation. As Tiger opened his eyes, rumors said that the man hasn't been allowed up since years. Rumors that he missed the fourth Great Shinobu War. Tiger, like some of the other Anbu agents, had never heard the name of Naruto Uzumaki before. As Naruto had become a no one and nobody down here, it was like he was clawing respect once again for himself. Good morning, Tiger Sensei, said Naruto with a bow. Tiger deflected his words with a nod. Morning did not matter to people like him. When you live underground, it was hard to tell the time after all. The rules are the same. No genjutsu, ninjutsu, or taijutsu. Simply, the blade. As Naruto unsheathed his blade and they circled one another. As Naruto's sweat dropped, as he felt like he was the one being encircled, and like he was the man's prey. As Naruto had to move back, as the swing came so quick it whipped through the air. Without using his ninjutsu, or enhancing his speed by Sage Mode or the Fox Cloak, Tiger's speed made him seem really slow. And Tiger believed that a stab of the blade would show the best way of not getting stabbed once again, because you would learn from the pain. I bet the maggot is a medic name. Do you realize how healed he is from yesterday? No amount of fancy healing jutsu is gonna save his ass today. As the Anbus upstairs were talking, I say 10 more minutes. But despite that, Naruto was still Konoha, most unpredictable ninja. As he stepped to the right and then fell to the ground in a crouch, a stray jutsu from a sparring over to the other side whipped over Naruto's head. Tiger noticed too late, but he tilted his body as it slammed right in his arm instead of his chest, as the earth jutsu knocked him back. As Naruto took advantage of that and brought his blade up, as it nicked Tiger on the shoulder. As Tiger jumped back, as he landed in a crouch, he touched his shoulder that was bleeding. As the Anbus that were watching blinked in surprise. No way. No one has been able to draw Tiger blood in years. He got lucky. Tiger left his fighting stance. How was that? Said Naruto. As the man stepped towards Naruto, and he moved. When he was close enough, he drove the blade right through Naruto's chest. He drove it quickly, but it did not puncture a single thing. It went through Naruto clean. The fight isn't over until we sheathe our blade, said Tiger in a whisper. Training is over for today. Same time tomorrow, as he pulled his blade. Huh. Who knew that Tiger was such a sore loser? Should we do something? He's a medic ninja. He should be fine. As Naruto collapsed on the ground. Maybe not. As Naruto felt a hand pressed on his back, as his insides started to repair themselves. Hey maggot, you alright? As Naruto grew in that nickname as he looked up to see 3 masks, Sparrow, Baboon, and Bobcat. As Naruto raised his hand and gave them a hand gesture, an offensive one. It was not luck, he said. As Baboon and Sparrow laughed. You know, maggot, you got some spunk. Baboon was twice the size of a normal man, as he pulled Naruto to his feet easily, as Naruto winced from the wound. Sorry, medic ninjutsu is not really my specialty, said Sparrow. As Sparrow leaned over Naruto's shoulder. Since you got time, how about a sparring match? That's an unfair advantage, he's wounded, said Bobcat. Just a little fun, said Sparrow, as he had a large red tattoo on his shoulder. Naruto's stomach grumbled since he finished with Tiger so early he wanted to have some breakfast, but he never said no to a sparring match. It will be the first time he can test the full extent of his abilities against an Anbu member. As he smirked, "You're on," he said. Time skip. Naruto was limping down the corner. His uniform was torn to pieces, and bruises were on his skin. His lip was busted, and he had trouble moving, but he had a large stack of cash in his pocket. The training era was completely wrecked, as Naruto did not hold back on them. They all wanted to fight him, and they put up their bets, as he took them all on. There you are, said a voice. His vision was still a bit blurry, but he knew that voice. Captain Snake. As Naruto was pushed against the wall, that fight was rather impressive. She fueled her hand with chakra to keep Naruto standing there. Snake, said Naruto. She pulled up his mask and her lips was on his within a second, before she moved and licked his ear, as she whispered, "By now, that poison should have entered your system and destroyed your body. You should be dead by now. You really are special," she said. Naruto smirked before he poofed away. Well, I'll be damned, she said to herself. Meanwhile, lounging on top of the roof was none other than Naruto, with a smirk on his face as he felt one of his clones dissipate as he got the memory. As he learned that Snake finally fell for one of the decoys he planted in Anbu. Snake, ever since he got here, had helped him to realize that he has grown into a full-blooded male, and the consequences were there, as he failed every one of her seduction tests on him. But he finally caught her and won. What's with the smirk, maggot? Sloth asked. As Naruto blinked, how did he stop? Even with the mask, it seems that Sloth knew everything. I finally got one over on Snake, said Naruto. You shouldn't have done that, said Sloth. Why not, said Naruto. There's a lot of crazy characters in Anbu, and she's one of the craziest, because she takes her tests a bit too seriously. Yeah, said Naruto. All of them took their tests really seriously when training him, getting him ready. Tiger did not hold back. As Naruto sat there as he watched Navi in her office as she was taking a nap. She had stacks of papers all around her. This was boring. He was teamed up with Sloth for bodyguard duty. Snavi knew that he would try to use a clone to get out of it, but with Sloth watching his entire moves, it was nearly impossible. As Naruto watched Sloth that was looking off into the distance, what could possibly be so interesting? As he then remembered what was over that area. Are you looking to the female bathhouse, said Naruto. You should focus on the Hokage. You never know when you have to place a silencing jutsu or obscure jutsu. When some dumbass take off their mask in their office and want to talk about some Ezra's secret. As Naruto crossed his arms, and here I thought that all Hyugas were some stuck-up, goody two-shoes. I shed that name a long time ago, said Sloth. Besides, Hyugas are born natural pervs. You can't really do anything that household without someone peeping on you. I was glad to get out of there, so I can do the peeping, not the other way around. An image of Neji invading Naruto's head. No wonder he was so uptight all the time. As he couldn't help but laugh. There you are. As Naruto froze at the voice. As he slowly turned to see Snake standing on a light post. As Naruto started to scoot back on the roof. Do you know how foolish you made me look this morning? She said as she jumped and landed on the roof. Why didn't you say anything? Said Naruto as he looked towards Sloth. She's not mad at me, Sloth said. As Naruto got up, he blasted across the rooftop as he ran. Time skip. As Naruto sighed, he walked into a scheduled meeting with Yamanaka. All the while avoiding Sloth for the past couple of hours, his evasion skills were getting on par back with his youngster days when he used to outrun the Anbus. Crow, said Inuichi Yamanaka as he received another patient. Sit in a chair, he said, as he walked around and placed up the equipment towards Naruto's head. Do you mind telling me what this is for? Said Naruto. We will be practicing and training your mental defenses in case you're captured by the enemy. As Naruto nodded uncomfortably, he wasn't too sure about letting someone in his head, but he allowed the suctions to be placed on his skin. The machines in the corner started to glow with light and beep as information started to pass through. Everything is normal, an assistant in the corner said. The assistant was none other than Ino. He wanted to say hi, but he had to remember, keeping his identity a secret. Alright, Inuichi said. For this first time, do not put up any resistance. We need to measure your vitals in the presence of mental threats. Then afterwards, we'll work on resisting my intrusion. As he placed a hand on his forehead and closed his eyes. When Inuichi opened back his eyes, he was floating. There was a brain in front of him. As he started to look over the signs of mental stress, Inuichi felt a shiver went down his spine as he spun around. He told him not to put up any defenses, but there was nothing there. As he turned back towards the brain, as he picked a random memory to extract, but when he touched the brain to pull out the scroll, a killer intent so potent and deadly shook him to his core. Inuichi Yamanaka was the best of best, but not even him was prepared for this. In reality, his hand was stuck near his head as he started to scream to the heavens. Dad, Ino says she rushed over to release her father from jutsu that was killing him. As she pressed her hand on his shoulder, disrupting the chakra, Inuichi collapsed on the ground, shaking. What happened? Said Naruto. Damn crazy, Anbu, Inuichi said, as he threw a big X on Crow's file. We're done. Time skip. Ibiki smiled as a new Anbu entered his office. Have a seat, he said. There was only one seat in here, and it was the only thing in here. Do you know why you're here? Not really, said Naruto, as Ibiki walked around the crow, his hands behind his back. Anbus are always going on dangerous mission, and there's a good chance of being captured. All Anbu members are to see me at least once a month when they're not on assignment, because when you do get captured, I assure you it's not pretty. As the man had a scar on his face to prove it. I should know. My job is to condition your body to resist torture until a team is sent to rescue you, or most likely until you die. Konoha's secret should not fall into the wrong hands. Chains burst from the hollow inside of the chair and wrapped around Naruto's hands and chest. Let us begin, Ibiki said. He put forward the first question that he always gave new agents. What's your name? Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto answered, without thinking. His eyes widened when he remembered he wasn't supposed to be Naruto anymore. That's a new record, Ibiki said. I don't know if you crap because of fear, or because you're just a damn idiot. Oh, said Naruto, that was a part of this. Let's start over. I won't screw up this time, said Naruto, as Ibiki sighed. As this was a kid that didn't answer a single question and test in 2 exams, he remembered him quite well. The war hero of the Forged Noble War. He was not Anbu material. Well, Ibiki was gonna have to fix that. Time skip. Ino sighed as she finished her latest psychotic patient, as she pressed the button to call another one in. As she brushed some dust from her ugly, unfashionable pants, as she fixed the butterfly mask that she wore. When she joined Anbu, she was supposed to be following her father's footsteps. Even though she was trained, she was being trained to follow her father's footsteps. She was stuck most of the time, doing psych evaluation for Anbus. It was just a routine checkup, and most of her Anbu patients just looked at her with nothing but silence. She felt like it was a waste of time, a waste of her abilities. She flipped through her next patient report. It was a blank slate. No mission history. It was a new agent. She stared at the code name. This was the same person that put her father in the hospital. That person's head was so messed up, and her father could not handle it. The door opened up. Ino could not see his face as his face was covered by the crow mask, but his uniform was filled out quite well. Nice muscle arms. He had to be well versed in taijutsu at least. As Crow collapsed in a chair. Tell me that this is a psych evaluation where I just talk about my feelings and stuff. I don't think I can take any more surprises. Ambush, shocks, traps, transformations, or someone jumping out of the bushes, saying surprise. Ino smiled. At least he had some sense of personality and a sense of humor. At least he acted human, unlike others. It might be hard to believe, but most of my patients would rather jump off of a building than talk about their feelings. Naruto scoffed. He was exhausted, and he was relieved that he had someone to talk to, even if she did wear a mask. How was your first week in Anbu? Ino said. Horrifying and exciting at the same time, said Naruto. I love the new training regimen, but Ibiki has me in his office every single day because of my mess up. He should have explained the rule first. Tiger pummel me into the ground ever since I pulled that stunt on him. And don't get me started on Sneak. Loves to talk, Ino wrote in her notebook. I know what you mean. I had to do an evaluation on Sneak a few weeks ago. That woman really loves to torture people. It is cruel that she's assigned to you. I begin to think that Hokage did it on purpose, said Naruto. Not even the Hokage is that cool, Ino said. Ino went to the next subject on her list. Have you dived into your mindscape yet? It's okay if you haven't. Many ninja haven't done it before. Why? She heard how defensive his voice became. It is important that all agents are able to enter their mindscape. It can be a haven in case of a traumatic event. It is further reason why I am interested in your mindscape, she said. Oh, yeah, I can access it, said Naruto. Good. Do you mind describing for me? Naruto couldn't tell her about the cage in the middle of it. It's like a sewer, he said. I'm sorry? Did you say sewer? Yeah. Is something wrong with that, said Naruto. No, Ino said as she wrote down what she got. None of the books that she ever read detail it to be a sewer. There are pipes along the wall, but most of them are broken. Hot wind leaks out of them. There's water on the ground that reach up to my ankles. There are tunnels leading. All of them twisting and turning, but they eventually lead to just one. And what does it lead to, Ino asked. As she was getting a bit frightened. Nothing. It leads to nothing, said Naruto. Time skip. Wake up. Naruto snapped awake. He tried to sit up, but he was bound back down. His legs and arms were bound to the bed. He looked up as he saw the snake mask leaning over him. What are you doing? Pathetic, she said. All I had to do was open the door. There was no traps or seals anywhere. What if you were on a mission? If your enemies were nice, they would kill you. If your enemies were mean. She ripped open his shirt. This is insane, said Naruto. Screaming is not going to help you. It took you so long to wake up. I placed a silencing seal around us. You're in a rather messed up predicament, she said. Okay, I get it. I won't go to sleep without precautions. Can you please let me go? She smirked as she sat on his stomach. As your teacher, I care about you. And I can't make you make any mistakes. A snake pulled out a needle. Uncle, please, said Naruto. I thought you learned by now. Only codename, my dear, she said. As Uncle placed needles inside his chest. She didn't stop until she used the needles to arrange a happy smiling face. As she started to kiss him. Her chest pressed on needles that dived deeper into his. As she pushed her tongue in his mouth so far, he could not breathe. You idiot. If you don't get this bitch off of you, you're gonna suffocate to death. But she gave out. Hopeless, she said. You'd already be dead 5 times over. A flush of embarrassment went over his face as she sat on the edge of the bed. It's kind of really hard to think when you're on top of me, said Naruto. She shook her head, because all the blood leaves your brain, and you think with that thing down there. You do realize that one of the highest cause of death for a male ninja is a kunoichi, right? Often with their pants down. That's all what men want. Power and sex, she said. Not all guys are like that, said Naruto. Her shoulders dipped. Well, that's because you're a pathetic little virgin, she said. As she headed towards the door. You're not gonna untie me, said Naruto. Where's the fun in that, she said. As Naruto looked down towards his chest, the smiley face was laughing, made from blood. He sighed in exhaustion, and that was how his first week of Anbu went. Time skip. Snapped sigh as she looked at the mission report. It was the mission report of Naruto. As she pulled all the files and read what they wrote about him. The first report was Tiger. Can't even use a katana to cut a meat than to save his life. But his dedication, his intelligence, and his willingness to learn make up for his flaws. Then she looked towards Snake. He needs to get laid. Just assign me a kunoichi, or give me some money to hire a whore, and I'll handle it for you. Ibiki was next. His stupidity is gonna get him killed. Nevertheless, he would survive torture for at least a week or more. he has a high pain tolerance. Next was Yamanaka. Even though they will realize quickly that they have the 9 kills in their possession, there is no way that they can extract any information because of the 9 kills. Tsunade was edging that Naruto wouldn't be able to get captured so easily. She can place full trust in that in Anbu's, he had to limit certain things. But when it came towards diving into the depths of his power, there wasn't really much people that could handle him. But these reports are good because Snake report always end with cutting off the male organ to make sure that they just get rid of it because they're helpless cowards. But at least she wanted to help Naruto. Well, in her twisted way. But the younger Yamanaka, Butterfly, got her thinking. Is Mindscape reflect a personality that shows self-doubt, abuse physically and mentally, or both? The nature of his Mindscape showed that his life is obsessed with a poisonous mental health. The subject should be put under more observation. That was troubling, Tsunade thought. Was Naruto truly ready for this? Well, the best lessons are learned through experience. Meanwhile, Naruto was trained in his own private training room. As with his extra large amount of shadow clones, he was demanding to learn more about the katana. He was still losing to Taiko when it comes towards katana, but he wasn't losing as fast as before. He was learning, he was improving. As he blocked the strike from 2 clones, when the tattoo on his shoulder started to burn a bit, he wiped the sweat from his brow as the tattoo started to burn even more. He touched his 4 fingers to trigger the summoning jutsu. There was a poof as he was brought to the Hokage's office. Owl, Squid and Butterfly was there, bowing as well. So he bowed as well. I have a mission for the 4 of you, said Tsunade, and Shizune closed the door. We have recently destroyed a terrorist organization called Kuru no Yakusho, but certain individuals have survived the collapse, who are highly dangerous. My sources say that the last remnants of the survivors have a meeting in the town of T. Your mission is to infiltrate and eliminate them once and for all, in order to escape, understood? Naruto could swear that she was staring right at him. Owl, you're the squad leader for this mission. Owl got up as she handed him a file. Konoha has an informant in the village that has been following the terrorist organization. Contact him, exchange information and relieve him of his duty. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Owl. The file also contained the ability of your squad mates, so you can employ them as you see fit. As usual, destroyed after reading. Owl nodded as he flipped through the files. He then paused. His head snapped towards Crow. Tsunade smirked. Bet you didn't see that coming. Owl shook his head. We'll leave immediately. As he snapped the file closed. Meet in supply room C. They bow once more and touch the tattoos. As Naruto found himself back in his training room. Alright guys, I'm leaving for a mission. You can do it. We believe in you, the clone said. He left them to their own devices they would dismiss once they were finished. As he made his way towards one of the supply rooms, as he met Sai. Ready? Of course. While they were walking, someone suddenly shoved Squid into the wall. Hey, watch where you're going, Naruto yelled. The Anbu flipped Naruto off with a middle finger. It's alright, crew, Sai said. It happens all the time. All the time? Really? Said Naruto. After the war, Danzo's route was disbanded, but most of the operatives was placed into normal Anbu. Many Anbu members don't trust us, Sai said. His voice did not sound like he cared. That's not fair to you, said Naruto. It is quite fine, according to my book, when someone teases another person mean that he secretly like them. Squid. I don't think that's what it means, said Naruto. As they enter room C. After a quick survey of the mission, and the folders are destroyed, they were ready to leave. Time skip, they were riding on Sai Inkbird as Naruto saw the trees underneath them. His first official mission as Anbu. All 4 of us will enter the town on different transformation to avoid suspicion, said Owl. We should have alibis. I'll be a merchant buyer looking to invest around the shops around town. Butterfly, I'll come with my own disguise, thank you, said Butterfly. She sounded rather cold to the man as Naruto was confused. After all, she was always nice to him. I can be Crow's wife, she said, as she held onto his arm. As Naruto was glad that he was wearing a mask, because her chest was pressing against his arm, and he was blushing. Owl sighed. You don't even know who he is. He's better than you. And Naruto could swear if she wasn't wearing a mask, she would stuck her tongue out like a child. Besides, the Hokage wanted me to keep an eye on him, given that his first mission after all. That's Naruto. As this shriek was loud to his ears as Ino ripped off his mask. Naruto? Ino blinked in shock. All this time she had been fantasizing about Crow, and it was Naruto? Wait, you know me? Said Naruto. I'm Ino, you idiot! And the dumbass over there is Shikamaru. We're not to reveal our identities, said Sai. As everyone knew that it was him because of the way he spoke, I think it was in the best interest to get this out of the way. Before this struck us on mission, said Shikamaru Sai, we know each other's personalities and our jutsus too well to not get discovered. So we would eventually. I'm sure the Hokage took that into account, said Shikamaru. As Naruto felt a load lift from his shoulders, he was with friends, but were to refer to each other as code names. Even when we think that no one is listening, said Shikamaru. As he was rather serious as he spoke, we are Anbu, and we can't afford to make simple mistakes. I knew Ino, huh? Yeah, got it, said Naruto. Now, disguises. That wasn't a bad idea, Butterfly. You and Crow can be newlyweds. I was only kidding, she said, the wine. That's okay, Ino. I can be someone else, said Naruto. He wasn't even sure how newlyweds were supposed to act. Ino sighed. Fine, she said. Squid can be my assistant, said Shikamaru. That gives each of us an excuse to maintain a two-man team at all times. We will stay as separate and talk to each other through Butterfly's mind technique. I'll meet with the informant while everyone else should focus on gathering intel. Afterwards, we'll meet up to decide what to do at the meeting, said Shikamaru. Any questions? Time skip. Under a transformation that looked like Aruka except for the scar. As Naruto entered the village of the tea with Ino hanging on his arm. Oh look, as Naruto was dragged forward towards a merchant that had hand jeweler. They're gorgeous, she said. Naruto didn't know if she was doing it for the act or did she really mean it. They will look really pretty on you, the merchant said. How about a deal? I'll give you a sale as long as you wear it around town. To let people know where you get it from. Really? Said Ino, as she then shoved Naruto aside. He always had trouble maintaining the transformation, and with her constantly moving against him, but he kept himself calm. Come on, Ino said. You should be proud to buy things for your wife. Come on, you get paid after the mission, she mentally talked to him. Naruto would have jumped back, but Ino held him tightly. It's just me, calm down, she said. I'm projecting my thoughts. Buy it for me. We have to look at vacation, newlyweds. As Ino lifted her hair as he bought it. As he bought a necklace. As he put her on her neck. What do you think, Ino said. She had slight freckles on her face as she had brown hair and brown eyes like a civilian. You look great, said Naruto. Of course I do, she said, as she grabbed his arm and dragged him to the next stall. This one was filled with different fabrics, as Ino touched all of them before she made a purchase. The elderly woman saw Naruto looking confused. New to this, huh, she said. Yeah, newlyweds actually, said Naruto. Congratulations. Seem like you'll make a fine husband. Oh, thank you, said Naruto. Kimiko Yamakura, the best seamstress in town. How about you, what's your name? Something popped in Naruto's head. He was in a dark room, getting assaulted. As the name was forced into his psyche. As he spoke, Crow, he said. What the hell is wrong with you, Ino shouted. As she had been keeping an ear to the conversation, as she shouted towards him mentally. Crow? The woman looked behind him, as she tried to find the Crow that he mentioned. But when she turned back around, as Ino was already dragging Naruto away. I'm so sorry, said Naruto, I didn't mean it. What in the world possessed you to say that? Ibiki, said Naruto. Ino could understand, but it did not change her temper. You could have easily ruined her cover. Don't you ever think, seriously. I don't understand why it was a good idea to put you in Anbu. Maybe you saved the world and everything, but you have no tech at all. You're an idiot, she said. Naturally, Naruto's resistance to insult was really large, but it hurt because he knew that she was right. As Ino pulled him to another cart, as he didn't hesitate to buy what she wanted, he felt awful for slipping up like that. It was getting confused remembering who he was. By the time night had descended, he was dragging himself to the nearest inn. Today was exhausting, Ino. She was exhausting. He had never been on someone beck and call like that, as he carried all of her items. Her anger had calmed down as she hummed a pleasant tune. The necklace was twinkling in the starry night. Ino knew that she was a difficult person, and she wasn't about to change. She was that little girl. She was a princess. He bought her anything without complaint. He complimented her beauty, and he also boasted her skills. With pride, she was constantly testing and comparing all the men in her life to her father, and all of them were swallowed by his shadow. So she had standards, really high standards, and it was her father that set them so high. As Naruto sighed in exhaustion, I don't have any money to pay for the inn. She rolled her eyes. Really, Ino, said Naruto. Did you have to buy all this stuff? As she glared at him, of course she needed everything. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten it. What's that, dear? She said, completely changing her mood. Did you say something? As Naruto sighed. No, it was a sneeze, he said, as she dragged him towards the nearest inn. But I don't. As they went to the most expensive inn. As Naruto wondered what the hell they were going to pay for this. Well, how he was going to pay for it. As he watches Ino chat with the attendant. Talking about marriage life. Oh dear, your hand is so hot. Do you have a fever? Let me check, said Ino as she placed one hand on the woman's forehead. Her other hand on her arm seal. The woman's eye drooped. as she looked like she was about to fall asleep. In the blink of an eye, the attendant smiled. "That will be the luxe bedroom," she said and smiled. "I'll call someone to escort you. I hope you enjoy your stay," she said, as she wrote down their names and how much they had paid for the rooms. As Naruto's eyes widened at that as he followed behind Ino and the person that came to escort him to their rooms. The moment they got there, she slammed the door shut as she went to the bathroom. As Naruto looked around, well, his first mission could have gone worse. As the room was large, it had a balcony. It had a small library, a fireplace, and a couch, but it only had one bed, as it made him blush. As he pulled some blankets from the closet. "Ino, I gotta pee," he said. "I'll be out soon," she said. When she finally stepped out of the shower, she brushed her hair, as she put on the second set of ninja clothing that she had, in a scroll, as she blew herself a kiss in the mirror, before placing on her mask. When she stepped out, though, Naruto was peeing over the balcony, as she screeched. "It's your fault," said Naruto. "You were taking too long. Who in their right mind pees over a balcony? Do you know how many people could see you?" she said. "It was dark," said Naruto. Ino sighed. Before she could do anything though, she felt Shikamaru contacting her. "Hold on. Message," she said. "Ino, I'm listening," she said. "I met with the informant. He has given us the information and details regarding the terrorist that he has been following. Tomorrow, you and your team will extract information from the target about the meeting, understood?" Ino didn't answer. "Ino, do you love her?" Ino suddenly said. "Ino, this is serious, not the time. I mean, you can't even spend much time with her. She's from a completely different village. This won't work." Shikamaru took a moment to reply. "Neither will us," he said. Ino growled as she sat down on the deluxe bed. As Naruto finally exited the bathroom, wearing only some night pants, Ino forgot what she was about to say, as she looked how well toned his body was. As Naruto shook his dripping blonde hair, some of the water splashed on her. "Stop that," she said. She didn't remember what she was about to say. "And where the hell's your mask?" "Well, you know who I am and everything," said Naruto. "You idiot! You're always supposed to wear a mask when you're not transformed," she said. "But we're going to sleep," said Naruto. "Did you even read the handbook?" she said. He did read it, but after the initiation ceremony, he forgot it all. A transformation must be maintained with constant chakra. You can't do that while you're sleeping. That is why, even while you're sleeping in the mission, you must wear a mask. Besides, what if someone attack and catch us unaware? We need to be battle ready at all time. Are you seriously gonna sleep in your pajamas?" "But that's what pajamas are for," said Naruto. She had absolutely no idea how Sakura did for so long, as she closed her eyes and went back on the bed. She heard noises. She popped open her eye. "What are you doing?" "Setting traps and seals," as he closed the balcony shut. Finally, he was doing something right, but she noticed the amount that he was setting was too much. Why so many? You never know when Snake will invade your room. Ino blinked. "She's all the way back in Konoha." "I wouldn't put it past her," said Naruto. When he was finished, he re-entered the bathroom. He came out with his mask on, but he was still in his boxers. Ino sighed. She would never understand him. "Hey, I mean Keiko," he said. He sighed. "Good night," he said. "Naruto, wait," she said as she sat up. "Your mindscape. Has it always been that dark?" she asked. "Since I was little. Those paths I told you about. They all lead to one place. And it's towards the demon fox. A path like that shows obsession. It suggests that your life is consumed by the Kyuubi." Naruto frowned. "I guess it is," he said, as he shrugged it off. Time skip. Naruto watched. As he was on the roof, as he watched as Ino was in a new transformation, dark hair, blue eyes, and with some sizable curves and figure. She drew the target in with a single glance. She laughed at his joke as he placed a hand on her butt, as it was necessary, as she brought him to the alleyway, as Naruto dropped down and knocked him out. "Thank Kami," said Ino. He was disgusting. "He touched you," said Naruto. He complained like a child. Ino simply shrugged it off. "But we win in the end," she said. "Watch out," she said. "This might take a while if he has any mental defenses." As she dived into his mind. As Naruto stood there, he kind of frowned. He didn't like how nonchalant Ino was about being violated. "I got the information." I placed a false reality in his head, explaining why he was passed out in the alleyway. As she transformed back into the wife of the newlywed, she pulled his hair and messed up a bit, as she pulled his shirt out of his pants, as he left the alleyway. Like, they were just having a bit of fun. They were newlyweds after all. They wouldn't draw any suspicion. Time skip. The four Anbus met up in the darkness, out of town, as they discussed the plan. There will be 7 terrorists in total arriving at the meeting. Some are rogue ninjas, others are just civilians. They have ninja bodyguards, Ino explained. The meeting will take place in the inn that Naruto and I are staying at. It will be at 9 o'clock. at night. Good job, Butterfly, says Shikamaru. We need to neutralize ninjas first. How about we rig the room beforehand? Paper bombs maybe, said Ino. No, civilians working inside might get hurt in the crossfire. As Shikamaru went quiet for a few seconds before opening his eyes. I got a plan, he said. Time skip. As Ino placed the unconscious, tied up attendant in the closet after transforming into an exact replica. I'm sorry, she said. They're all here, she gave Shikamaru the signal, who was up in the rafter, right above the meeting. Several men and 4 extra ninja in total. Sai was outside, sticking to the wall with chakra. The dark night concealed him from civilians walking down below. They were blissfully unaware. Naruto sat in a room down below, meditating while in sage mode, as he could keep track of all their chakra. Why have you called us all here, Dento? Do you know what dangerous this is? They're still looking for me. I have to, Dento said. There's a person that showed interest in funding our group. We can rebuild. Is it worth it to rebuild it again? Another man said. Ninjas will always be up in our damn ass. These ninjas are too much powerful. If they weren't so much powerful, we could have more control over the politics. It's the ninjas' fault in the first place. We have so much war. We owe to our families to keep on going. I vote for rebuilding. All of them argue over harsh whispers, as Naruto didn't like the conversation. Was the fact because ninja existed? Was the reason why war started? Those were questions that he never asked himself. As his confidence wavered, but he focused. Then a knock. All of the men went silent, as Dento slowly got up. As he slowly opened the door. T? Attendant was there. But they weren't looking at T, they looked towards the woman, as she was rather curvy. Yeah, sure, said Dento. As Ino served the tea as she slipped in, the ninja bodyguards gave her a hard stare. But as she poured and she left, as she slowly walked down the stairs, as she entered the room where Naruto sat, as Naruto opened his eyes after 10 minutes, the tea had started to affect their chakra networks. As she saw the orange pigment turn his eyes, there are 3 that didn't drink, the one closest to the door, the 2 in the right corner of the room. Ino related the message to Kamaru. They had to take out those 3 first. Owl, say this without the signal. As Naruto nodded, Butterfly, have you ever killed someone? Of course, you have to before getting the Anbu. I didn't. Said Naruto as he thrust his hands into the ceiling. As his wing chakra blew through, a sudden draft went through the room and blew out all the candles. As the ink dots on the wall, the drawings came to life, and shadows on the ground also came to life as well. The first 3 targets were taken out instantly, when the others tried to perform jutsu they could not. Screams filled the air, but the place was surrounded by a silencing seal. One of the hired ninja crashed through the wall, as Naruto created a clone left behind as he gave chase. As Naruto flashed in front of the man, he dropped his kunai as he stopped. As he just saw his comrades dead within seconds, no hesitation, as Naruto froze right there and saw the man trembling. Our mission parameters are to leave no survivors, Ino said in his head. Kill him, the fox said, with a glee in his voice, as Naruto pulled his kunai and jammed it into the man's throat, as blood invaded his nostril, as he smelled the scent of blood. As Naruto pulled the kunai out, the fox saw it, as he spread his influence through Naruto, as Naruto stabbed the man once again as blood sprayed out, as he stabbed once again, and again and again. Naruto whipped his head around at a heartbeat. His eyes were red. More. Kill more. Take more. We should help Owl and Squid clean up. Ino found herself slammed against a wall. His speed was ridiculous. As she saw the blood-red eyes of Naruto looking at her, the smell of blood triggered something inside of him. An animal locked in a cage for so long, finally getting a taste of the bloodlust. As Naruto came forward and licked her cheek, a wicked grin on his face, a kunai plunged into his gut. She slapped him across the face. Naruto, she said, as reason took over the bloodlust. As he staggered back, oh, Ino, I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry, he said. It hadn't been a dream that the cave haunted him with, or a genjutsu that the fox messed with. This was real. The need to kill was real. We need to check on Owl and Squid, Ino said, as she didn't want to be alone with him. As she saw how Naruto rip that man apart with the kunai, they were ninjas, not butchers. As they walked back to the inn, Ino glanced towards him every now and then. Was this your first kill, she asked. No, a man named Yuro, but at the time all that mattered was saving Gaara. As Naruto looked toward his hands that were covered in blood, when they arrived, Shikamaru was storing away the corpse, as Sai was posted to make sure no one came up here. As Naruto stepped inside the room and he saw all the chaos, the blood, as the clone downstairs poof, And Naruto stepped out the room and started to puke out his stomach. Shikamaru did not blame him. Seeing something like this in your first mission, it wasn't easy. But that wasn't the reason. The moment he stepped in that room, he wanted to tear those body apart with his teeth. The raw animal instinct to hunt like a prey. An animal was trying to take over him, and he couldn't allow it. That is the reason why he puked, not because he was shocked by the blood. And they didn't know that. But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, if you want the next person to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification so you posted. But I'm moving now, see you guys soon. Peace.